Welcome back, folks. Hope you're making a comment on what you're hearing with us today. Like us or dislike us, troll us, try and hit us, whatever you want to do, but connect to us, please. I'm now going to ask Vinny, who, being a retired senior policeman, attended many violent situations in his life. I'm going to ask Vinny to connect with Yaron here about Bondi and what happened at that tragedy. Vinny?
Yaron, it's no secret that many Australians, all of us, are shaken to the core about what had happened to us as Australians. To see someone's problems overseas being brought here on our own grounds and seeing those Australian lives destroyed by these evil people. The political response, there were only two people I thought had the courage to talk about what really needed to be done. That was Chris Minns, a great premier, and the Police Commissioner Mal Lanyon. They both took this situation in hand and did what they need to do to make sure that it doesn't ever happen again. The Labor Party failed and still continue to fail in my eyes to address what's happening. That Royal Commission that they've just announced after a lot of pressure, that Royal Commission is only an inquiry at this stage. It's not really a true Royal Commission, because a true Royal Commission would have investigators, it would have telephone intercepts, it would have all sorts of unlimited resources and time to get to the core of the problem. But they've given it a time limit and they've given it terms of reference which I think are too tight. What do you think?
Well, take a step back, Vinny. You know, what happened there? What has happened in Australia that people can feel so much hate? And you know, there is some reduction in responsibility. You know, we've seen a whole lot of things that happened and we haven't called it out and said, no, we don't do that in Australia. We've let it go on, and it all adds up. You know, you were a cop, right?
Yeah.
You get this. If you don't stop bad behaviours early, they keep going. They get worse, don't they?
Absolutely.
And that's really what we had. And we've seen people get radicalised. To have so much hate in your heart that you would take hunting rifles and take headshots at other Australians. Was it whilst they were pointed at the Jewish Australian community, they killed more than just Australian Jews. And that type of hatred goes on beyond just one group. And so you're right, this is a moment where we have to say, what's happened to us? Why have we let this happen? And so I do think if the Royal Commission gets to those answers, beyond just the technicalities of what happened on that day, but take a step back.
Do you think a lot of this started from the lack of action by the government to that mob at the Opera House, where things were called out and there was violence there that was not jumped on? The only person that seemed to be arrested at that function, that gathering, was a Jewish gentleman that opened a Jewish flag to wave, and he was arrested for possibly inciting violence. You know,
look, I feel for the police, because what the police are trying to do in these situations, they're trying to minimise trouble. So under common law, they use their common law powers to say, look, if you do this action, even though it's completely legal, but if you do it under these circumstances, you are going to cause problems which may result in you being physically injured. We need to remove you from that danger.
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to do, but it's always misinterpreted by the media. That's what's happening.
Let me ask you a question though, to Tony's point. Where is the greater danger though? Isn't it the fact that the police are saying they can't control these people? Your safety is at risk because I can't control them. That concerns me as another Australian watching this. Like, well, why aren't you doing something about them?
The cops are dealing with professional agitators.
Yeah, this is a good point.
Okay?
You're absolutely right.
Now we've got a situation. These poor guys are trying to pray in the middle of the street. By the way, it's a street, not a church or a mosque or anything else, right? And they're trying to diffuse a situation. The only way they seem to be able to diffuse it is by targeting the biggest troublemakers that there are. Once you remove them, you find the rest of them all go.
Yeah.
But what happens now? What's the fight back? The fight back is they go to the LECC, which is basically a commission that looks into police behaviour, because of all these complaints that they've got about the way police behave at this demonstration. Let me say this to you. The public are entitled to have a police force that is a force.
Correct.
Okay? At the end of the day, they don't care what happens to you, because if you're a troublemaker and you're there to hurt people, guess what? There's a good chance you're going to get hurt. And you take that chance every time you come across New South Wales Police Force.
Do you know what else, Vinny? I think the Australian people are right behind that. They want the cops to do their job.
Agreed.
Of course they do.
And they don't need the political correctness. They want them to do their job. Where people are doing the wrong thing by other Australians or against the law, most people say, do something. I think the cops have to feel that they've got the people behind them.
Let me tell you something. When a cop gets hurt by these people, they're not hurting the cop, they're hurting you. You. That's who they're trying to say. They're using the cops as basically this abstract vision where they're not punching the cop, they're punching you.
Well, on that comment, which I totally agree with Vinny, being a former copper, being involved in this sort of situation, and I'm sure the cops would like to have possibly been a bit harder to close down on the troublemakers, that core activist group, the professional activists. I'm sure the coppers would like to have grabbed them, but didn't. Had to play the political game to a degree. But Yaron has explained it as well, and I thank Yaron for that. And Vinny, we'll be right back. If you have a comment on what Vinny just suggested, what Yaron just suggested, please let us know. We'd like to know your thoughts out there. If you're behind the coppers 100%, if you think the coppers are doing the right thing in a tough situation because of the media everywhere that covers every situation. Every time a copper picks his hand up, there seems to be a camera on him. He doesn't have much of a chance. It's a tough question, but let us know your answers.